Good evening to all. Uh, Welcome all to the question paper discussion session conducted by Crackwathis, a preparation platform for all the competitive exam in the field of psychology. So once again, I welcome you all to this live question paper discussion. So this will be helpful for all those who are preparing for different sets of competitive exam in the field of psychology. Particularly right now, we are focusing on the National Testing Agency UGC NET and the CUET PG. Also, many different exams are on the way. So for all these purposes, these questions and trying to, we are not just spending time merely for just taking some questions and trying to find out the answer. That's a very simple mere process, but rather going a bit more and trying to analyze the questions, other options, trying to find out the explanation of the background theorist, in a way that within a very short time. So that is one of our aim, because time is very precious. And right now through this session, what I'm looking forward to cover maximum questions in an optimum way, without losing the quality, but at the same time trying to cover almost like, today we are having a 2 hour session. So I'm thinking about covering maximum questions so that you will be exposed to, and you will get trained and acquainted with these concepts, will be able to revise this concept in a very quick go. So I request you everyone, this is not a space for mere passive listening. We will just give you the question, read it the same time itself. I request everyone to quickly come to the chat and put your options, everyone, and we will quickly explain the reasons and the corresponding theoretical aspects. Everything is actually I have set in the PPT, and I will give you this PPT to all the participants. It will be available online in the app. I will be uploading this, so you can access um, this contents later. Also, video will be uploaded to YouTube, so you can share with your friends. You can make use of this learning, and something that I want to encourage you all is accelerate your learning. That's one word that I have to tell you: accelerate your learning. I know you are all preparing, and preparation takes a time. Preparation is a solitary process, and at times we will get bored, we will get distracted. We will prepare, we will be sometimes spending 2 or 3 or 4 hours, but seeing the modules we have covered, it might be relatively less, and that's a reality. It's not nothing to be blamed, it's a reality that we all face. So that's why this platform will help you within a short duration of time trying to cover the maximum. So almost right now my PPT have almost 150 slides. So with the best possible speed and accuracy we'll try to cover. So I request all of you, dear participants, for your kind and keen attention. At the same time, quickly spend your input your options in the chat so that I can see in what way you guys are thinking and why that option is not the right answer or this is the right answer. So that thing, that always while attempting a question, especially right now as we are in the preparation process, think why or why not that particular question option became the answer. So I'm trying to give input into the backgrounds of why these options are becoming the answers, and trying to find out the layers, the trying to cognitively break down this question and the options, and hence making our learning maximum and optimum. Okay, so yeah, so let's quickly start. Let's quickly start. um, so last day we discussed in the last live sessions. It's available in YouTube. Those who want to again go and check, just go to our Crackwathis channel. It's available there. All the link is already there in our all Crackwathis groups, so you can share it with your friends also. Yeah, so let's begin. So as I already mentioned, question I will read immediately as soon as possible. When you believe that it's a right answer, it's an answer for you. It doesn't mean that you can put whatever options you feel like. It doesn't mean that you have to be correct. Whatever you instinctively feel, oh, this may be the answer, you can just put. I have cross-checked these answers multiple times. I have cross-checked with other resources, with the textbook resources online. So I believe that this will give you a good idea. And each question while we are taking, I will just quickly mention the theory behind it, the theorist behind it. That's something that I also try to incorporate into the slides. Let's begin. First question, here we go. So, yeah, step-by-step interaction of operating a mechanical gadget is an example of option A, 1 troubleshooting, 2 algorithm, 3 heuristic approach, 4 means to end analysis. So almost we know it's from cognitive psychology, especially problem solving and all. Um, so you can put, after reading, you can put your uh, options in the chat so that I can see it. Any further clarification also, this PPT, this background information, everything will be shared to you. Don't worry. So sometimes I'll be going a bit faster in order to cover more questions. So yeah. Okay. So yeah, step-by-step interaction operating a mechanical gadget is an example of. So yeah, you all guys are right. It's algorithm. It's a right answer. So when, okay, see, in the first, those who are using computer and all, you might feel that why troubleshooting is not the answer. Troubleshooting is also in a step-by-step interaction, but troubleshooting is specifically in the process of an issue. So troubleshooting, if an issue arises, it does not specifically describe the entire process. It refers to the process of identifying and resolving problems or malfunction in a system or device. An algorithm, we know, it's a step-by-step interaction of operating a mechanical device. It's a systematic procedure, a set of instructions used to solve specific problem or achieve a particular goal. Heuristic approach and means to end analysis are other options. Heuristic means, we know, it's mental rule of thumb, not a step-by-step procedure. It's mental rule of thumb, educated guesses, intuitive judgments to find solution. Means to end analysis is and another problem solving strategy which is not actually fitting into the description given. So yeah, next question. Making a reference to a respected person believed to be well informed when one's own logic or reasoning is weak is called arguing in circles, false analogy, appeal to authority, overgeneralization. I think in paper one discussion we have actually very recently also we discussed this. Um, so it means that making a reference to a respected person believed to be well informed when one's own logic or reasoning is weak. It's like telling that Shah Rukh Khan has this opinion, so it's right. So I have a particular X opinion, and I'm telling that in order to prove that, I'm telling, okay, Shah Rukh Khan even holds this opinion. So that Shah Rukh Khan, it's just an example, doesn't mean that this is actually right. So, so this is a fallacy which comes under logical reasoning. So making a reference to a respected person, yeah, majority of your answers are right. It's appeal to authority, right? It's appeal to authority. When someone makes a reference to a respected person believed to be well informed in order to support their argument or claim, I'm claiming that, okay, this or that, I'm claiming it. So this is a logical fallacy actually, where the credibility or authority of the person is used as an evidence for the validity of the argument. I believe in this because this person believe, which is a famous person, rather than relying on sound reasoning or evidence. So that's one option. And if you look on the other options, that is arguing in circle, false analogy, overgeneralization, these are other logical fallacies. Just have a quick glimpse on that. Arguing in circle means also known as circular reasoning. This we have already discussed in our live in our theory sessions. where it is like uh, A is claiming an argument A because A is right. That is circular reasoning. Scuba diving or going to adventures is very dangerous because it is a adventurous activity. Look, you are just circling there itself. You are not showing any valid argument, but you are just um, going around leading to circular unproductive line of reasoning. So that is called circular reasoning or arguing in circle. False analogy, using some analogy or comparison that are not sufficiently similar, leading to an invalid or flawed argument. Overgeneralization, making a sweeping statement based on insufficient evidence or limited sample size. So that is overgeneralization. So here the right answer is appeal to authority. You can refer to this PPT later and see what are the other options in parallel. So yeah, next question. When a person who needs to use a tool in a novel way but cannot do, it is attributed to lack of interest, lack of motor skill, functional fixedness, lack of motivation. Simple question again from the cognitive. And as I mentioned, all these questions are from the just the previous time net exam. And the reason why is it seems to be more connected, it seems to be more easy in fact, but the cutoff was so high that many students even failed to get into the net level. But the question seems to be more into the, there are different types of questions, different pattern of questions that I will come to that later. See, the question goes like this: when a person who needs to use a tool in a novel way but cannot do, it is attributed to. So we are using a tool, for example, a keychain or a key or a pen, in a novel way, but we can't do that. And the major reason of that is, as majority of you told, it is functional fixedness. What is functional fixedness? It is a cognitive bias that limits a person to see alternate uses for an object beyond its typical or intended function. So questions like this, don't think that okay, this is a straight away question, straight question, but don't think in any complicated way that it may be due to the lack of interest or lack of motor skill or lack of motivation and all, because it's a straight concept and we know it's a question coming from the cognitive psychology. Functional fixedness refers to the inability to see or to use something differently or alternative uses beyond a object's typical or intended function. So it's a direct question. I hope that you will be able to quickly answer it. Next one. Which of the following examines information processing approach to intelligence? Which of the following examines information processing approach to intelligence? 1. Overall success in living. 2. Structure of intelligence. 3. Functions of intelligence. 4. Processes underlying intelligent behavior. So the question is, which of the following, these following things, examines information processing approach to intelligence? So those who know the answer can put in the chat. Even if you don't know, this is a platform where you can practice guessing out, not simply like random guesses, but educated guesses. So this platform is wide open for you to put any guesses you have. Be show your dareness to, so that you can correct your cognitive thinking. It's all about your even. It's a process. It's a cognitive process that we are engaged right now while dealing with each questions. So we know that we have studied about intelligence. We had studied about the approaches of intelligence. There were many factor theories. There are also a process oriented approach and a trait oriented, like that approach. So which of the following examines information processing approach to intelligence? Yeah. So the answer has some of, yeah, there are different answers of came, but the correct answer is actually option 4, processes underlying intelligent behavior. This is a, it's it's a different question. It's a different pattern of question. So this option focuses on understanding the cognitive processes involved in intelligent behavior, such as perception, attention, memory, problem solving, and reasoning. And because we know the information processing approach seeks to uncover how these processes contribute to intelligent behavior and how they can be studied and improved upon. The other options listed, such as overall success in living, structure of intelligence, and functions of intelligence, may be relevant to the broader study of intelligence, but do not specifically address the information processing perspective. We know about information processing perspective. I have taken classes in information processing, that perspective of even in memory, even in other intelligent processes. So basically, information processing approach, the process underlying intelligent behavior, how it is happening, not the function, not the structure, not the overall success, but information processing approach basically look on how it's happening, how the intelligent behavior or the process underlying intelligent behavior. That is what information processing approach tries to look forward. It's a very dominant approach. We know if you look about more, I have included more details about information processing approach. It's actually a theoretical framework, uh, because this information processing approach, this perspective, see intelligence not as a fixed or innate trait, but rather a set of cognitive abilities. Major proponents of this approach include Herbert A. Simon, Alan Newell, David Rumalt, John Anderson, Alan Batley. Batley, we know, one of the cognitive psychologists in human memory. Even Herbert A. Simon, we know, problem solving and decision making, many contributions he had made. So you can refer to these points later, as we need to cover maximum questions. I'm just skipping this. This PPT will be available for all of you. It will be uploaded in the app after the session itself. So yeah, so that's why here the answer 4 is coming. The next question. This question, yeah, in the drive reduction theory by Clark Hull, SHR stands for, you might be remembering there was a formula in the motivational theory, the drive reduction theory: excitatory potential, drive reduction, habit strength, inhibitory potential. You might remember the formula. There was a mathematical formula developed by Hull in order to explain motivation and drive reduction theory. So what you stand by SHR, or it's some people like it's you can write it as SHR or some, in many ways, like, okay, basically it's a full form. SHR stands for what? Yeah, I would request everyone to put your options in the chat. Yeah, yes, majority of you have made it right. Yeah, it's habit strength. It's habit strength. You guys are right. So what's the formula? How many of you remember that formula? Yeah. So in drive reduction theory, Clark Hull, SHR stands for habit strength. And the SH, stimulus response habit equation, is a central component of Hull's theory and represents the strength of the association between a stimulus and a response. Stimulus and response, the H stands for the habit strength. So habit strength refers to the degree to which a learned response has become automatic or habitual through repeated reinforcement. So that's what Hull meant by this variable called habit strength. So according to Hull, habit strength influences the likelihood and strength of a response occurring in a given situation. So there is a stimulus happening here, response happening here. So it will depend upon the strength to which a learned response has become automated to give that particular response. So that is habit strength according to Hull. This was the larger formula and all the explanation I have given here. So right now I'm not meant to, I'm going because that will take so much of our time. So you can refer this later. So yeah, so habit strength, and please have a check with the Hull's theory. Next question. Which of the following attributions indicate an optimistic explanatory style in the face of stress? Internal cause, specific impact, unstable outcome. Internal cause, specific impact, unstable outcome. Sorry, external cause. Internal cause, global impact, unstable outcome. Internal cause, global impact, stable outcome. So those who know the answer can quickly come up with your options, because this, in order to answer this, you need to know actually what is an optimistic explanatory style, and what are the specifically what are the attributions they are telling about. Who proposed optimistic explanatory style? What are the different um, attributions that theory is mentioning? Okay, you can put your options in the chat. So I think majority are coming with option 2, external cause, specific impact, and unstable outcome. Yeah, is there any other another options? No. Yeah. So yeah, so let's look on the answer. Yeah, you guys are right. There is a small error here. Actually, it's not it's option 2 only. It's not internal, it's external cause only. So before getting into the answer, for those who haven't yet know about this, let me give a short description about what is this explanatory style. So according to the Martin Seligman, in his theory of learned helplessness and optimism, he proposed three main explanatory style. One is internal versus external. Something happening and we can attribute either it as internal or external. In the course of negative events in the face of stress, we attribute it as blaming involves blaming ourselves or blaming some external attribution. Stable versus unstable. Whether the individual attribute the cause of negative events as stable or unstable. Stable attribution suggests the cause is fixed and unlikely to change over time, while unstable attribution suggests that cause is temporary or changeable. And global versus specific. And based on these explanatory style, he came up with two, specifically pessimistic and optimistic. Pessimistic involve internal, stable, global for negative events. That means they blame themselves. They will tell that it's unchangeable. It happens always to me. So it's a pessimistic explanatory style. An optimistic explanatory style means external, unstable, and specific. External, unstable, and specific. That's the optimistic explanatory style, in which they believe that they attribute negative events to external factors, view them as temporary, and believe that the impact is limited. So this is a part of Martin Seligman, we know, the father of positive psychology, in his theory of learned helplessness and optimism. So here, option 2, external cause, specific impact, and unstable outcome will be suited well for the answer. Okay, so yeah, option 2 is the right answer here. We'll move into the next question. An individual encountering prolonged stress is prone to suffer from skin infection because corticotrophin releasing factor flows into the blood, causing damage to the skin. Adrenaline released into blood absorbs the vitamin B that is necessary for nourishing the skin. Cortisol released into blood causes damage to the T and B cells in the WBC. Corticosteroids get deposited in the skin due to stress. So which will be the answer? It seems something related to the skin, the stress and physiology. So individual encountering prolonged stress is prone to suffer from skin infection. Okay, that's proved. Why? The reason they are asking. Okay, you all can put your options in the. Okay, okay, different options are coming. So it prolonged stress is prone to suffer from skin infection because the answer goes like this. Actually, it's option 3 is the answer. Cortisol released into blood causes damage to the T and B cells in the white blood cells. So prolonged stress can have negative effects on the immune system, which can increase the susceptibility to infection, including skin infection. The release of cortisol as a stress hormone, we know that cortisol is a stress hormone. So if you are exposed to prolonged stress, it can have immunosuppressive effects on the body. So cortisol is known to suppress the immune response by affecting various immune cells, including T cells and B cells, which are crucial components for the immune system. These cells play a key role in recognizing and fighting of infection, including those affecting the skin. So when cortisol levels are elevated due to prolonged stress, it leads to the inhibition or impairment of T and B cells. And due to this, the immune system's ability to effectively respond to pathogen and prevent infection will be compromised. So that's why option 3 will become the answer. Actually, option 1 suggests that corticotrophin releasing factor flowing into blood causes damage to the skin. However, CRF, the corticotrophin releasing factor, regulates the release of other stress hormone and it is not directly associated with the skin damage. And this option 2 also. Vitamin B necessary for skin nourishment. However, stress can affect vitamin level in the body. Adrenaline itself does not directly absorb vitamin B. So that's actually wrong. And the last option 4 suggests that corticosteroid get deposited in the skin due to stress. While corticosteroid can be used as a medication for skin condition, stress-induced corticosteroid deposition in the skin is not a recognized mechanism for increased susceptibility to skin infection. So here, as cortisol increases, as stress increases, the cortisol level increases. As cortisol level increases, it leads to inhibition of T and B cells. Hence, the immune system will be unable to prevent the potential pathogen causing skin infection. So there goes the explanation. Here is the next question. Hardiness is a combination of three cognitive factors involved in the interpretation of life events. Find out from which of the following is not correct for hardy personality. Psychological hardiness is a very interesting variable. You can many students used to study in dissertation project and all psychological hardiness. And we know there are three C's. Three C's for hardy personality. And find out which is not correct for hardy personality. Option 1, control, coping, challenge, commitment. Everyone can put your responses in the chat. I request everyone who are participating in the discussion program to quickly put your options in the chat so that others will be also able to see. We can have good discussion. I will also see the variability of the responses. And as you know, as we discussed in the last class, variance is a very important thing. Yeah, so those who know what this is actually a direct, very direct question. I will go to the answer. Psychological hardiness or hardy personality, it's a variable which has been widely studied and it comprises of three factors: control, challenge, commitment. Actually, coping is not there. So option 2 is the right answer. Not correct for hardy personality is the question. It's coping. So hardiness is a personality trait introduced by psychologist Susain Kobasa. Please note that. It is characterized by a set of cognitive factors that influence how individuals perceive and respond to stressful events. So if you're a hardy personality, you will have the control of your life. You will take challenge as an opportunity and you will be a committed person. These three things: control, challenge, and commitment. These are the three factors, cognitive factors of a hardy personality. Don't forget that: control, challenge, commitment. We'll move to the next question. Cognitive dissonance theory explains that attitude change occurs as a result of distance between one's belief and behavior, reduction of the unpleasant arousal people experience while they engage in a behavior that conflicts with their attitude, a resolution of conflict by a neutral third party who studied both sides and imposes a settlement, a strategy in which people create obstacles to success so that potential failure can be blamed on these external factors. It's a direct question asking how cognitive dissonance can be or reduced by attitudinal change occurs as a result of. How can attitude change can be occurred as a result of the following? What it will be? Yeah, yeah, I can see your options and almost everyone have made it right. It's a direct question. It's a direct question, and we know that in order to what do you mean by actually cognitive dissonance? Cognitive dissonance is a social psychology theory put forward by Leon Festinger, which suggests that individual experience psychological discomfort or dissonance when they hold conflicting belief, attitude, or engaging behavior that are inconsistent with their attitudes. So I'm telling something, I'm acting in another way. Then I will explain experience dissonance. So in order to reduce the dissonance, I either have to change my attitude. I believe that alcohol should be banned, and I will tell that, but I'm consuming alcohol. There, I will of course face a dissonance. So what should we need to do? Just change the attitude. Alcohol need not to be banned. So if you go in that way, that means changing or reducing the unpleasant arousal that individual experience when their behavior conflict their attitude. If that is reduced, then they will be motivated to change their attitude to bring in line with their behavior, thus reducing the dissonance. So option 2 is the right answer. Other options you can refer it later. So again, these are questions from social psychology and seems to be more direct in comparison to the previous year question papers and all. So social laughing is defined as, again, a direct definition question: personal characteristics that others view as insurmountable handicaps preventing competent or morally trustworthy behavior. The tendency by group members to slack off and reduce their effort on additive tasks, which cause the group's output to fall short of its potential. The set of interpersonal relationship associated with the social position as person occupies. Individual's concept of self in specific social roles. So the question is, what is social laughing? And we know what is social laughing. Who proposed social laughing? Yeah. Yes, very good. Almost everyone have made it right. We know the tendency of group members to slack off or reduce the effort. So social laughing is a phenomena where individual, the option 2 is the right answer. Here, when working in a group, they exert less effort compared to working individually. It is characterized by degrees in motivation and productivity when group individual will believe that their individual contributions are less noticeable. Hence, they laugh or slack off. This tendency to laugh or slack off can result in reduced group performance and the group failing to reach its full potential. So the other options are not nothing related with the social laughing. So social laughing was initially studied by Max Ringelmann, a French agriculture engineer in the late 1880s. His observation of the reduced individual effort in group tasks led to the identification of this phenomena. Later research by social psychologists such as Latane and Williams expanded the understanding of social laughing. So, yeah, you know what is social laughing, and it's a direct question. Next one. Which of the following is a group decision making technique? Brainstorming, ordinal group technique, risky shift, random shift. You can quickly try. It's a very easy question. You can very quickly come to the answer because the question is asking only about a group decision making technique. Yeah, majority of your right. Yeah, it's option A, brainstorming. So brainstorming is a group decision making technique. Who introduced that? Alex Osborne. Don't forget that name. Alex Osborne. Alex Osborne. I have seen this. Like we have so many match the following questions in the net exam. So it's coming later. So you need to be well versed with theory and theorist. Even a term and the person who proposed that term. So Alex Osborne, brainstorming. Brainstorming we know. Generating a large number of ideas or solution by being in a creative and a non-judgmental environment. It's the purpose of brainstorming is encourage open and free thinking, allowing for exploration of wider perspective and possibility. This will help in group decision making. Ordinal group technique is nothing uh, related to group decision making. Risky shift. Risky shift is actually a social psychology phenomena based on the research conducted by James Stoner and others. It means that when a group decision phenomena where groups decision tends to be riskier or more extreme than the average decision made by individual group members. That is called risky shift. Groups decision tend to be riskier or more extreme than the average decision made by individual group members. That is called risky shift. So again, random shift is not a part of here also. So I hope you learned about brainstorming and the details. Next question. Which of the following is correct about the result of Milgram study? Another question from social psychology. Result of Milgram study. Option 1. In the real world, most people will refuse to follow orders to inflict harm on a stranger. Many people will obey an authority figure even if innocent people get hurt. Most people are willing to give obviously wrong answers when ordered to do so. Most people stick to their own judgment even when group members unanimously disagree. So you can put your options. It's direct question asking about the result of Milgram study. We know that Stanley Milgram is a social psychologist who focused on, yeah, I'm not telling that right now. You can put your options in the chat. Yeah, almost. Yeah, I hope you got the answer. Yes, it's option 2. Many people will obey an authority figure even if innocent people get hurt. What was the study? You know the experiment conducted by Stanley Milgram. The what? The study investigated how ordinary individual would respond when instructed by an authority figure to administer electric shock to another person. So he focused on obedience to authority. That was his theme. So the option to accurately reflect the result of Milgram study. The study found that a significant number of participants were willing to obey the authority figure's instruction to administer increasing level of electric shock, despite the fact that participants expressed discomfort and moral conflict. So that is called obedience to authority experiment conducting using electric shock. Stanley Milgram. Option 3. Most people are willing to give obviously wrong answers when ordered to do so. It's called, it's very related to Ash conformity experiment. So don't get confused. There is another person called Solomon Ash who studied about conformity, and there was a line experiment by in which that was a result. Like when most people are willing to give obviously wrong answers when ordered to do so. It refers to the influence of group pressure on individual conformity, and most people stick to their own judgment even when group members unanimously disagree. Again, it's a group thing. It's a concept of group think and not connected to Milgram's research. Yeah, so option 2 is the right answer. Next question. Which of the following definitions is not correct according to Gestalt therapy? According to Gestalt therapy, we know Gestalt therapy was put forward by Fritz Perl, and on his theory, several aspects have been mentioned. Like introjection refers to the internalized rules governing our thoughts, feelings, and behavior which we absorb from parental and other influences from childhood onwards. Retroflexion refers to the process whereby we do to ourselves that we would like to do to someone else. Confluence refers to the style of relating to other people, which is based on an absence of conflict and a conviction that everyone should be in agreement. Deflection refers to the process of attributing aspects of ourselves to other people. The question is, which of the following is not correct regarding gestalt therapy? Yeah, can you put your options in the chat? I know it's a sometimes it may feel a bit an extended question for you, a bit harder question for you because you need to be familiarized with this concept like introjection, retroflexion, confluence, deflection. So, which is not correct is the option is the question being asked. So that means one among the four is not right. So in the exam, in the actual exam, if you are facing this question, as I told last day also, if you don't know anything about gestalt therapy, not know anything about introjection or retroflexion or thing, what we can do the immediate response. If there is a negative marking, don't do anything. If there is not, click something that your mind is telling. Simply believe quickly, not take 5 minutes to hear what your mind is telling. The next second you have to click the option, any option, and go to the next question. That will be the wise choice. Spending time unnecessary for questions that you know you have no idea of is actually a waste. So because time is a very important factor in this competitive exam. Here in this question, I will tell you the exact answer. The answer is actually four. All these things: introjection, retroflexion, confluence. All these definitions are actually correct. Deflection is not correct. Deflection is actually it refers to the process of attributing aspects to ourselves to other people. So deflection is not defined as attributing aspects of ourselves into other people. Deflection is actually a defense mechanism where individuals avoid or distract themselves from fully experiencing or engaging with their emotion. So, deflection means avoiding personal awareness and connection. That you mean by deflection. So, the deflection is wrongly given here. Other thing, introjection, retroflexion, confluence, these things are actually right in the context of gestalt therapy, but deflection is wrong. So, you can refer to this later and learn what are these things in gestalt therapy, which was put forward by Fritz Perl. Yeah, next question again. This I think these questions are coming from the counseling and therapy area. The counselor can use the following formula for a rough assessment of severity of client's problem prescribed by Merabin and Reed. It's a particular formula in order to have an assessment of the severity of client's problem prescribed by Mehrabin and Reed 1969. The formula goes like this: distress plus uncontrollability plus frequency, or distress plus uncontrollability minus frequency, distress into uncontrollability into frequency, distress plus uncontrollability into group into frequency. I think for many of you it may be a new thing. I don't know. Those who know the answer can quickly, or you can just come up with your educated guesses. Let me see. If you don't know the answer, it's okay. Please put your educated guesses. Simply, let's see whether you have luck or something. Okay, people are coming with different options. Okay, so let me see your different responses. Yeah, you guys are thinking. Okay, any others waiting for your guesses? Waiting to put your, yeah. Even very honestly, I haven't heard about anything like this. I searched a lot to get the answer actually. So I would say while searching the answer, while referring the answer, you have to be very careful. There are different sources which will actually there are possibility of misleading, because I have seen in some textbook, in some areas it's like showing as addition. Distress plus uncontrolled plus frequency is just an addition. When I checked more, I found that option 3, distress into uncontrollability into frequency, is the right answer. So Meravin and Reed suggested the following formula to measure the severity of the problem. Severity is equal to distress into uncontrollability into frequency. The formula indicates that they are not additive. In fact, even one of them being high or low can influence the level of severity. So that is the major underlying idea. Even if one among the three factors, either distress or uncontrollability or frequency, if one is zero, fully will be zero. If one is 100, everything will be in that level. So that is the peculiarity with multiplication formula. We know that. So right now you can think how many of you have made the right answers. So that's why I used to tell Don, simply waste your time in uh, trying to again checking. And so even if you think a lot and put, there are very low chances that it will be right. So that's why the reason I'm very confidently telling that, seeing any particular question which you have no idea of, if you have some idea, you can spend time. That's my disclaimer. If you have some idea, for example, if I am facing this question, I'm very honestly, I'm telling I have no idea what this content is. And basically I'm not coming from that, like we haven't been checked with the detail about the counseling techniques and all. So I will immediately put something. Of course, there are high chances that I will go with option 1, because we usually believe in addition formula. And but the actual answer is option 3, it's a multiplication formula. Okay, we'll move to the next question. Which of the following name is associated with the play therapy? Again, a direct question. Eric Byrne, Elizabeth Hurlock, Gerard Egan, Virginia Axline. Again, a direct question. If you have an idea, you will quickly make it, or just leave it out. Okay, here you can put your options. Which of the following name is associated with the play therapy? What do you mean by play therapy? Emphasizing or creating a safe and a supportive environment for children to express themselves freely through play. So, yeah, it's a natural medium for children to communicate. So, using play as a mean, yeah, you can put your options. Please put your options. I would suggest everyone to chumma go with some options so that you will know. Yeah, which of the following name is so play therapy. Yeah, I will tell you the answer. Yeah, everyone is going behind Elizabeth Hurlock, it seems. But we know Elizabeth Hurlock is actually a developmental psychologist known for her work in child development, personality, and educational psychology, and not particularly with the play therapy. Eric Byrne, we know who is Eric Byrne, a person famous for transaction analysis. Here, the answer is Virginia Axline. She is the person, a renowned American psychologist and pioneer in the field of child centered play therapy. She popularized the techniques of play therapy in her famous book called Dips in Search of Self, published in 1964. So, Axeline's approach to play therapy, creating a safe and a supportive environment for children to express themselves freely through play. So for example, for establishing therapeutic relationship with the child, allowing them to take a lead in play, providing empathy, understanding as they express, and things like that. So option one, Eric Berne, we know, developing TA, transaction analysis, theory of personality and communication. Elizabeth Harlock, a prominent development psychologist. We know we are referring her book for developmental psychology. Gerard Egan, you might be, it was also a book, a skilled helper model. You might be remembering. We have studied this in counseling. Gerard Egan's model of skilled helper. So again, Egan is it's a contribution in the field of counseling per se and not in child play or play therapy. So here the answer is Virginia Axline. Next question. Again from the therapy area. In REBT, treatment is based on assessment of goals and activating events only, diagnostic categories, beliefs and consequences only, assessment of goals, activating events, beliefs and consequences. It's a direct question from REBT. Those who have a smaller idea regarding REBT can answer this. So we know REBT or rational emotive behavioral therapy. Rational emotive behavioral therapy. Who proposed that? Yeah, you all guys are right. Actually, it's a like assessment of goal A, B, C. We usually used to tell A, B, C, or assessment of goal, activating events, beliefs, and consequences. So REBT, yeah, REBT. No, it's a CBT. It's a cognitive behavioral therapy developed by Albert Ellis. So REBT involves these things: goals, activating events, beliefs, consequences. All these things are actually included in the REBT approach. Yeah. Next question, again from a therapy. Transactional analysis, we know TA. TA, who put forward TA? TA is a therapy put forward by Eric Berne. His famous book called Games People Play. Games People Play. That is Eric Berne's famous book. Yeah, so transactional analysis is concerned with the four major areas of analysis. Which are the following does not come under this? Does not come under this. Structural analysis, hypnotic analysis, ground analysis, game analysis. Can you come up with the answer? Which of the following does not come under this? Those who know something about TA can actually answer, or there is a possibility of even an educated guess. I would suggest you can actually make this option right. Just have a educated guess, even if you don't know nothing about this structural, hypnotic, ground, and game. That's one of the technique for questions like this. When you come, even though you may not be that familiar with the TA, I hope you might be knowing a few aspects of TA that we always used to tell. But apart from that, you may not be that familiar with these analysis and things like that. But the question is about it's the sin coming under this. Yeah, majority of you are right. Actually, it's hypnotic, and we know hypnosis will never come under TA. So that's actually a we can guess it out. So let's look about. So the answer is actually option two, hypnotic analysis. What do you mean by structural analysis? Structural analysis is actually a component of personality structure in TA known as the ego state. Right now, if you ask, then you will tell. Ego state, right? There are three ego state: parent state, adult, and child. This is a structure of structural analysis in TA. Parent ego state, adult ego state, child ego state. There are basically three. And transaction analysis, it refers to the unit of communication and the focus on the examination of transactions, the quality of communication and hidden messages and underlying motivation. We know in transaction analysis uh, we basically look into the content and the quality of the transactions. So we know there are four positions. I am okay, you are okay, I am not okay, you are not okay, I am not okay, but you are okay, I am okay, you are not okay. We are familiar with these life positions. There are also something called game analysis. There is also script analysis. So these are the four major areas of analysis. And we know hypnosis as the question. Hypnotic analysis is not a part of TA. So yeah, in that way we can find the answer. Next question. Which of the following is not relevant to a cardiac patient's behavior of adherence to treatment? Please keep your attention. Which of the following is not? Many a times, even I, while preparing this question, I forgot to look on this note. And I was like thinking why this will become the answer and not. So you have to be very careful. While reading the question, I would request everyone to just take a deep breath and be very focused. So the question is, which of the following is not relevant to cardiac patients' behavior of adherence to treatment? Self-efficacy, perception about how serious is the condition, sense of humor, perception of how much control one can exercise on health. Yeah, yeah. It's like we can again, we know this is a question from health psychology, and we know um in the context of health psychology, there are many other factors which are related to the patient's behavior is important, but sense of humor is not something that. So the answer is option 3, sense of humor itself. So we know that self-efficacy, which you mean by the individual's ability to successfully execute the behavior necessary to achieve desired outcome, or the perception that how serious the condition is, perception of how much control one can exercise on health. All the other three factors are actually important, but not the sense of humor. Although sense of humor is a beneficial for general well-being and emotional well-being and all, it does not directly impact a patient's behavior or following medical recommendations. Yeah. Which of the following is not a risk factor for hypertension? Another question from health psychology. Obesity, atherosclerosis, multiple sclerosis, exposure to stress. The question is again, which of the following is not a risk factor for hypertension? We know that hypertension, commonly known as BP, blood pressure, is a medical condition characterized by elevated blood pressure levels. So, out of the following four, one is not a risk factor for hypertension. Which will be that? Can everyone put your options in the chat? We know hypertension is a medical condition characterized by elevated blood pressure levels. So, which is the following? Which are the risk factors for hypertension? For example, we know that exposure to stress is actually a risk factor for hypertension. When the stress increases, BP also increases. So in that way, how can we answer? Yeah, I think majority have made it wrong. In fact, the answer actually is multiple sclerosis. Yeah. So obesity, as we well know, obesity, of course, excess body weight. When the fat become concentrated, it will increase blood pressure. Of course, uh, it's a risk factor for high BP. So obesity is there. Atherosclerosis. What do you mean by atherosclerosis? I'm not maybe accurate with the pronunciation I'm making, but it's a narrowing and hardening of arteries due to the buildup of fatty deposits known as plaques. So this condition can actually contribute to hypertension by reducing the elasticity of blood vessels, leading to increased resistance to blood flow and elevated blood pressure. So atherosclerosis is actually a risk factor for BP or hypertension. But multiple sclerosis, it is an autoimmune disease that primarily affect the central nervous system, causing inflammation and damage to the myelin sheath of nerve fibers. So it has various effects, but it is not recognized as a risk factor in the context of hypertension. It's another disease. It's an autoimmune disease, not something a risk factor for hypertension. So multiple sclerosis is not there. That's the not factor here. Exposure to stress is of course a factor contributing to hypertension? The answer is multiple sclerosis. Okay, let's look into the next question. Action taken to identify and treat an illness or injury early with an aim of stopping or reversing the problem comes under action taken to identify and treat illness or injury early with the aim of stopping or reversing the problem comes under primary prevention, secondary prevention, tertiary prevention, protection prevention. Action taken to identify and treat an illness or injury early with the aim of stopping or reversing the problem. So what will be the answer? Yeah, very good. There is a high chances that you may get confused in this question. Seeing that early doesn't mean that is a primary prevention. It's wrong. The answer, as majority of you have stated, is secondary prevention only. Why it is called secondary prevention? Because in primary prevention, it refers to actions taken to prevent even the occurrence of a disease. It involves promoting healthy behaviors, providing vaccination, safety measures, raising awareness and all. Secondary prevention is actually early detection and intervention. Something that is related to early detection and intervention is called secondary prevention. The goal is to further reduce the complications, mitigate the impact. Tertiary prevention is minimize the consequences of already established disease. That is tertiary prevention. Protection prevention is not even a recognized term. So secondary prevention is the answer. So don't forget the three types of prevention: primary, secondary, and tertiary. So vaccination is coming in primary, early detection and intervention coming in secondary, tertiary trying to minimize the consequences of already established injury. Next question. In the context of health behavior, Matarasso claims behavior that protect health has behavioral immunogenes and that put health at risk is behavioral compromise. Behavior that protect health as behavioral immunogenes and that put health at risk as behavioral pathogens. Behavior that protect health as psychoimmunogenes and health at risk is immunocompromises. Behavior that protect health as immunological behavior and put health at risk as pathological behavior. We know health psychology. Matarasso has given some famous definition and all. Matarasso is a famous personality in this context. So he is telling about in behavior that protect health is called dash and that put health at risk is called dash. That's the actual question. Because if you look on the options, everything is related to that. Behavior that protect health is called dash, whether it is behavioral immunogenes, psychoimmunogenes, immunological behavior, and put health at risk is called behavioral compromise, behavioral pathogen, immunocompromises, pathological behavior. Yeah. So, okay, you may, yeah. So, Matarasso claims he coined both these terms. Yeah, let's move into that. Actually, the answer is option two. Option two. So Matarasso coined these terms: behavioral immunogenes and behavioral pathogens. So behavioral immunogenes to describe behavior that protect health, and behavioral pathogen to describe behavior that put health at risk. So don't forget that this is a learning time. Matarasso, health psychologist who contributed well in the field of health psychology, he coined these two terms: behavioral immunogens to refer to behavior that protect health, pathogens to behavior that put health at risk. So behavioral immunogens, behavioral pathogens. Okay. Next question. Coming from positive psychology. Martin Seligman proposed a theory of authentic happiness and well-being which contains 5 elements. I think for the PG guys, I have a last day only I have discussed this. Which of the following does not come under Seligman's theory? Martin Seligman proposed a theory of authentic happiness and well-being which contains five elements. Which was the theory? What was the short form of that theory? It's called PERMA. I hope you guys remember. PERMA. Which of the following does not come under Seligman theory or does not come under the premises of PERMA? So, a positive emotion, meaning that defines authentic happiness, resilience, accomplishment. You can put your options, your answer. So we know that Martin Seligman, the father of positive psychology, who proposed the theory of authentic happiness. So in the initial, it was like three paths to happiness. Later, he expanded his theory and he proposed a PERMA model. PERMA stands for five abbreviations: PERMA. So which of the following again does not come under Seligman's theory? Can you guys put your answers? Yeah, even if you don't know, please come up with your educated guesses. Let me see. I hope you PERMA, if you know the definition of PERMA, you can very easily answer this. Yeah. Okay. So the answer is, first let me explain what is PERMA. PERMA is contained five elements. What is the five element? Positive emotion, engagement, relationship, meaning, accomplishment. So if you want to experience happiness, you should have positive emotion. You need to have engagement, engaging in a or flow in, like Mihaly, sense of Mihaly tells. You need relationship, you need meaning, and you need some accomplishments like getting net or gaining a seat in your psychology post graduation. So these accomplishments of course give you happiness. So that's why we are hearing. But we also should think that we have to actually engage. I would recommend and encourage you to engage in this process. I really love, like, even taking this class or preparing for this class. It's something that gives me positive emotion. At the same time, engaging in something I'm completely into it, because something that of a personal interest and personal fulfillment is happening. But in PERMA, something that is not there is actually resilience. Yeah, resilience is something, a concept in positive psychology, but it's not coming under PERMA. In PERMA, the R stands for relationship actually, so don't get confused. Resilience is a positive, very good concept, but it is not coming under the PERMA model. Okay, next question. Which of the following is correct about cognitive perspective? So from here onwards, the chord questions start. You will have A, B, C, D or something like that, and from these chords, there are options. So questions like these come, you have to limit your thinking in terms of the options. So don't think entirely in terms of the A, B, C, D, but do think in the context of 1, 2, 3, 4. Because you can only click on 1, 2, 3, 4. So think accordingly. Which of the following is correct about cognitive perspective? We know about cognitive perspective. A. Thinking and understanding about the world, information processing, overt behavior, similarity of thinking and working of a computer. I think in my classes even I have explained about this perspective. Choose the most appropriate answer from the option given below. Can you come up with your answer? A and D, C and D, A, B, D, A and B. Which of the following is correct about cognitive perspective? Okay, if for example if you are telling 4, that means A and B, that is thinking and understanding about the world, information processing. So you only need to just put 1, 3, 1, 2, 3 or 4, but always to remember, think in terms of the options. Yeah, let me give you the answer. Thinking and understanding about the world, of course we know that it's like how to answer like questions like this come. We can first of all, let's look. Thinking and understanding about the world. Yeah, it's right. Information processing, of course, cognitive perspective is about information processing. Overt behavior only, that is something related to behaviorism and not in cognitive. So that's wrong. Similarity of thinking and working of a computer. See, in my online lectures, in my live sessions, whenever I'm taking cognitive perspective, I always used to tell this thing also. Cognitive perspective always take the computer metaphor. I always used to tell this word, computer metaphor. Yes, option D is also a right option. So A is right, B is right, D is right. A, B, D. Option 3. Here it is so simple, but sometimes you may get confused that similarity of thinking and working of a computer is not there and all. So option 3 is the answer here. Okay. An Indian question. According to the Indian concept of Indian concept of self, elements of psychological self include manas, buddhi, antakarna, dhyana. Again, the correct answers you can choose ABD, BCD, ACD, ABC. Which will be the answer? Manas, buddhi, antakarna. Yeah. Okay. I'm wondering how many of you know deeper about it. Indian concept of self. Honestly, even I don't know much about this area. But let's look at the answer. Indian concept of self, the elements of psychological self. Yeah, you can put your educated guess. It's completely okay. No issue. Yeah, manas, of course, you can term. Yeah, of almost in A is there in three options. Manas is there, buddhi. It's an element of psychological self. Andakarana. In Malayalam and all, we used to tell Andarangam and all. It's something that related to the self or manas and all. Actually, dhyana is not there in elements of psychological self. So A, B, and C is actually the answer. And option 4, A, B, and C. Because according to Indian concept, manas refers to the thinking aspect. Buddhi refers to the intelligence. Andakarana is the inner faculty of mind. Emotions, feelings, desire, and intentions and all. Intentions basically. Dhyana is a meditation. It's a meditation term, right? So dhyana doesn't come under the Indian concept of self. So manas, buddhi, and andakarna are the elements of psychological self according to the Indian concept of self. So this is a learning time. You will learn it. Manas, buddhi, and andakarna concept of Indian self. Next question. Which of the following can be used to determine the number of factors to be extracted in factor analysis? So again, back to our research methodology. Which of the following can be used to determine the number of factors to be extracted in factor analysis? Scree plot is there, orthogonal rotation is there, aging value is there, factor loading is there. And from that we have to choose A only, B and C only, C only, A and C only. The number of factors. So we know that basically what is factor analysis? Factor analysis is actually a statistical method to identify the underlying factors or dimensions that explain the relationship among a set of observed variables. So in order to determine the number of factors to be extracted in factor analysis, we use several methods. So among the four, which all are they? Either it is A only, either it is B and C only, either it is C only or A and C only. So for that, we need to know what is creep plot, what is orthogonal rotation, what is hygiene value, factor loading. Yeah, we have discussed, we had conducted some research, particularly research area discussion classes previously in the last season. That was in Malayalam actually. So those who want to, it's available in there. We have, I think, 2 or 3 hour discussion session we have done, particularly in the area of research questions. So here I will explain the answer. I think no options are not coming. It's something a very like the main problem with these areas are it's very hard to convey. That is the problem of statistics and thing. Even we know, I hope you know factor analysis. So I have included all the definitions, and even I have included something in order for you to simply understand what is these things. So basically understand that in order to identify the number of factors in factor analysis to be extracted, we have several methods. And plot and Eigen value are the two methods that can be employed in order to know how many number of factors can be extracted. So here actually option 4, A and C is the right answer. What do you mean by plot? Plot is actually a graphical representation of eigenvalue plotted against a number of factors. So it helps in identifying the point at which eigenvalues level off or scree, indicating the number of meaningful factors to retain. It's like there are many simple examples also to like for each factors there is. What do you mean by eigenvalue? Eigenvalue represent the variance explained by each factors. So basically, we know factor analysis means a reductionist technique in order to reduce into the least possible factors. So for that reduction technique, we need to rotate and we need to see how many factors will be there, which represent the whole set of data. For that, we need to know the variance explained by the each factor. So eigenvalue is a value that will let us know that whether that factor need to be retained or kept or deleted. So factors with eigenvalue greater than 1 are typically considered meaningful and retained. Or I will either give another explanation. So in factor analysis, eigenvalue will tells you how much of the total variation in the data is explained by each factor. If a factor has high eigenvalue, it means that it explains a lot of variation in the data, so that it is an important factor to consider. On the other hand, if a factor has low eigenvalue, it doesn't explain much of the variation and may not be as important. So eigenvalue is like a measure of the importance of relevance in factor analysis. So that has to be the factor which decides how many factors. And plot is just a graphical representation of eigenvalue. So using plot or using eigenvalue, we will know what all factors has to be retained or avoided. So this is an important process in factor analysis. In order to identify the number of factors, we use either plot or eigenvalue. And what is this orthogonal rotation? Actually, there are several rotation techniques: orthogonal and oblique rotation, and that will be. I think we will discuss in some other sessions, other area when the questions comes, we'll do it. Orthogonal rotation is a technique used to simplify the interpretation of factor loading by rotating the factors in a way that maximize their independence. So it's actually a factor rotating technique in which orthogonal rotation does not directly determine the number of factors to be extracted. It is a method used after determining the factors to achieve more interpretable solution. So this is something that is happening later in the factor analysis process. And factor loading, we know. Factor loading is just the correlation that each observed variable and the underlying factor have. That you mean by factor loading. So please refer to the factor analysis sessions that we have done. I think using some PPT, I have explained it, how to identify these factors and all. So some of the research discussion that are also happening. So factor loading is just the representation of correlation between the observed variable and the underlying factor. Here in this particular case, plot and eigenvalue are the two methods to actually identify how many factors we need. Okay. Yeah. Next question again from the area of research. Which of the following are the types of probability sample or probability sampling? Simple random sampling, proportionate stratified sampling, disproportionate stratified sampling, saturation sampling. And from the options, give your answers. A, B, and C, B, C, D, A, C, D, A, B, D. Simple question, I would say. The question is direct. Which of the following are the types of probability sampling? We know basically there are two types of sampling: probability sampling and non-probability sampling. In probability sampling, the rules of probability are followed. Each and every member of the population have an equal opportunity to be included in the sample is called probability sampling, uh, which allows for generalization. So, which are the types of probability sampling mentioned here? A, B, C, D. And we have to be pretty sure that among the four, three are actually probability sampling. So, what it will be? Yeah, you can put your options. Yeah, even though you know, like you will be of course sure, pretty sure that simple random sampling is a one type. So A will be of course there. So how many options are there? 4, 3, 1. All these options have A. Proportionate stratified sampling. Anyway, we know that stratified sampling is a probability sampling. We will not be like available about what is proportionate and disproportionate and all. Anyway, we know stratified sampling is a type of probability sampling. Then why the worry? A, B, and C. Only one has to be, anyway one has to be omitted. We know that simple random sampling, stratified sampling. Stratified sampling, there are two types: proportionate, disproportionate. We can include that in the probability sampling. So A, B, and C will be the answer, and you guys are right. Option A only. Saturation sampling. I will explain what is that. Saturation sampling is actually non-probability sampling. What do you mean by the saturation? In qualitative research and all, we know that we will look for saturation. When, in order to collect the data, we will stop collecting data when the theoretical or the when saturation happens. What do you mean by saturation? To a point that where no new informations are coming. That is a point of saturation. So in saturation sampling, it's a non-probability sampling in which the researcher will include all available members of the population in the sample because it's a very small population size or something. It is used when the population size is small or when it is feasible to include every member of the population. For example, we are studying in a particular very specific niche population, and all those who are part of the population are available within our reach. For example, I'm studying in Jew people in Kochi, for example, and I know, like for example, there are very few families there. For example, I'm telling an example. I don't know about the authentic data, so I can actually include every one of them. So that is a saturation sampling, and that's a non-probability sampling. All others, simple random, proportionate stratified, disproportionate stratified, are all coming under probability sampling methods. Okay. Next question. Which of the following are true of aptitude? Aptitude. They are acquired, they are innate, training ensures optimal performance, aptitude and interest are positively related. Again, these are all option wise questions. So, codes are given, we need to think in that term. So, our cognitive process underlying this has to also to be practiced in order to connect from ABCD to the options. So, ABCD are the Scots. From this, we have to go into the answer. So, we have to think in terms of this 1, 2, 3, 4. Either it will be A and B. They are acquired, they are innate, or B and C, or ABC, or C and D. So the problem with these questions is that we need to go. Sometimes there is a possibility that other options may be there, but we need to click the answer that represent the most correct. So for that, we need to check, have an idea about what these options are actually telling. Okay, yeah. So I will tell the answer. First of all, let's look at the options. Which of the following statements are true of aptitude? A is that telling that they are acquired. Can A be included? Is aptitude something that we are acquiring? The answer is a straight no. Attitude are not acquired. Aptitude, sorry, not attitude, aptitude. Aptitude are not acquired, but rather it's a considered as an inherent or an innate capability. Though there are possibility for training and all, aptitude are more or less an innate or a inherent stuff. That means, of course, A is wrong and B is right. So their innate is right. So learn this: aptitude can never be acquired. How can a person can 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 acquire an aptitude? That means coming to the option 1 will be of course deleted. Option 3 will be also deleted. Then remaining are 2 and 4 only. We right now we have understood that aptitude is innate. The next thing, training ensures optimal performance. That is actually right. The thing that aptitude is innate doesn't mean that it will be like fully performing. No, we need training. While aptitudes are innate, training and practice help individual develop, refine their skills, abilities to make it optimize. So that is actually right. B and C. Aptitude and interest are positively related. The fourth one. But actually, we don't need to look into that. Why? Because there is no option which tells that there is a B, C, and D. It's only either B and C or C and D. Those training ensures optimal performance. That's right. D, aptitude and interest are positive related. This may be positive related or sometimes may not be related. Because aptitude, we know. Aptitude refers to inherent ability, while interest refers to personal preferences. So there may be some overlap between aptitude and interest, but they may not be always positively related. Sometimes it may be positively related, sometimes it may not. For example, my aptitude is in research and my interest will be also in research. So in that terms, it may be positively related, but we can't say in all the cases it might be. So that is actually a confusion. It's not an authentic statement actually. But these two statements, B and C, they are innate. They ensure optimal performance is actually the right, correct ones. There we can go. So option 2, B and C will be the right answer. I hope it's clear for you. Okay. Next question. What is true about norm? We know norms are an important aspect in psychological test. What is true about norms in psychological test? Norm helps as a comparative device. Percentage is a type of norm used by psychometricians. T-score is a type of standard score norm. Raw score is converted to derived score for norm interpretation. So there are A, B, C, D, 4 options, and from the options reach at the answer A and D, A, B, D, A, C, D, A, B, C. So we know norms are psychological testing refers to the standard or benchmarking for interpreting test scores. We know that what is a norm. So you can think and come up with your answers. Yeah, we have I think we have learned all this in our session on psychological testing. We have detailedly taken class on this. You can put your options in the chat after thinking. So yeah. Okay, I will tell the answer. But I would also recommend you in some questions something that will really help you, a technique that will really help you. For example, I would see this question ask. If this question comes in front of me, I will think in these terms. I will reveal my cognitive thinking. I am very sure that option B, percentage, is a type of norm used by some psychometricians. It's actually wrong. How can percentage be a norm? Percentage is not a norm. Percentile is a norm. We have learned very detailed about in the class also. We have discussed about several norms. So percentage will only give you a value. It will give only, for example, you got 90 percentage. That speaks only about you. That doesn't speaks about the group you belong to. Basically, we know that norm means what? Norm is a standard benchmarking score for interpreting test scores in context of the group. Reference standard or benchmarking. So for that, so percentage will tell you nothing about the norm. Percentage will just give you a number of your performance. Basically, as the first option, the norm helps as a comparative device. Comparative device. So norm provides a basis for comparing my score with my group's test score or average score, or with the performance of other in similar characteristic, or like my age, my gender, my education level, or things like that. So what my method is, since B is not at all right, I will go with options where B is not there. And I am pretty sure that T score is a type of standard score that I know. So sometimes the technique that I was about to tell you, that sometimes some options we are pretty sure that that will not come. For example, in this case, B I am pretty sure of it will not come. T I am sure that it is an answer. So an option which will avoid B but include C, it will be actually option 3. So before getting into the answer, T score is a type of standard score norm that we all know, we all agree with. Raw score is converted to the derived score for norm interpretation. We are using it in almost all our practical exam in our lab and all. This is what we are doing. We convert raw score into either a T score, a percentile score, a standard score, a set score. These are all standard scores, set or T or percentile. So that will only able to help us for norm interpretation. So basically, we know norms are for interpretation. Interpreting test score. How can we interpret? Using comparing it with the relevant reference group. So that means option A, norm help us compare, it's right. It's a comparative device. T score is a type of standard score norm. Raw score is converted. So A, C, D are right. Percentage is not a type of norm. Okay, so the action is, or the answer is option 3, ACD. Okay, next one. True description about differential aptitude test are DAT. It's an aptitude test. It has 8 subtests meant for students from grade 8 to grade 12, meant for students in the age of 8 to 12. It has been adapted by Indian psychologists. Which all of the above are actually right. True. A and B, A and C, B, C, D, A, B, D. So we need to know. That's why I always used to tell you have to learn about all the psychological tests. Very popular like intelligence test, like this Batias, or famous. I have included in my material also all the famous tests and their subtest and properties and all. So differential aptitude test. So you can come up with your answer. Even it is a guess, it's okay. Let me see how many of you are making it right or wrong or anything. Yeah, yeah, very good, very good. Yes. So here something that we can know is meant for students in the age of 8 to 12. This is a very confusing. Is DAT available only till 12 years? This is right, meant for students from grade 8 to 12, which makes more sense. I'm telling, even in the context of not knowing anything about DAT, you can just think in that terms. Yeah, it might be students up to 12 grade, not 12 years. So B will be, of course, there. It has been adapted by Indian psychology. Yeah, we know. We have heard about DAT being widely used aptitude measure. DAT is a very widely used aptitude measure. And in fact, it has 8 subtests. So A, B, and D are right. And option 4 is right, which includes A, B, D. So learn about DAT. DAT is a differential aptitude test, widely used psychological assessment tools for measuring person's aptitude or ability. It has 8 subtests. What all are they? Verbal reasoning, numerical ability, abstract reasoning, clerical speed, accuracy, mechanical reasoning, spatial relations, spelling, and language usage. These are the 8 subtests. Meant for students 8th to 12th grade. That means it can be administered as a part of career guidance, because after 12th grade we know students will go to their professions, corresponding professions. So meant for students in the age of 8 to 12 years. 12 years means what? Very small children they are. Actually, it is not. DAT is typically administered to students in higher grade level, not from grade 8 and all. Not for children in the age range of 8 to 12. So that's wrong actually. It's not meant for children of in the age range 8 to 12. And it is been adapted by Indian psychologists, of course, because in India we are widely using it. Yeah, that's the right answer. Next question. I know we are moving fastly and it's been a, yeah, we'll wind up by within 15 minutes. So again, I'm requesting all of your tight attention and response to your screens. Let's cover it more faster. Which of the following domains are assessed by neuropsychological test? Which of the following domains are assessed by neuropsychological test? So while I will give you one trick in between. We know that we are sitting in front of the laptop for hours. We'll be like just chumma read the question, which of the following domains are assessed by, and we will like, oh, let me read it once again, which of the following domains are assessed by. So don't give space for that type of mere absent minded reading. Even there, even in the time of there was physical question paper, I used to do this thing. Which of the following domains is the important word here that has to be noted. We know in our actual exam there will be no light pens and all to actually mark in the computer screen. But I used to do something. I used to open my mouth and read, because in order to keep my presence of mind, in order to keep myself focused, not increasing the volume, but I will just open mind and I will read it. Which of the following domains, stress that point, domains are assessed by neuropsychological test? Language, opinion, memory, executive functioning, reaction. There are A, B, C, D given up to E. Which one of the following options will be there? B, C, E, A, C, D, C, D, E, A, B, D. So which will be the answer? It's a neuropsychological test. We know that neuropsychological tests are primarily designed to assess various cognitive functions related to brain functioning. Neuropsychological tests primarily check cognitive functions, especially brain functioning. So you have to arrange in terms of that. Something's major area that comes under cognitive. We know which are the major areas coming under cognitive. Yeah, you guys are right. Language, of course, it's a part of, and we know brain area which is connected to language and all. So language, of course, is there. Opinion, no. Why is opinion has to come? It's not a survey and all. It's we are looking about brain functioning. So opinion will not be there. Memory, of course, memory is a major term in neuro and also cognitive. Executive functioning. Executive functioning means what? Higher order cognitive processes like problem solving, decision making, cognitive flexibility. So executive function is a direct brain function. So of course it will be there. Reaction, or they might be telling about reaction time and all. These are not assessed by neuropsychological test. Reaction is something else. Reaction time or reaction is not measured by assessed by neuropsychological test. So that means A, language, C, memory, D. A, C, D will be the answer, and that's right. Option 2, A, C, D. Okay, so let's look on the explanation also. I have already explained. So the major researchers included here are the principles of cognitive neuroscience. We know Alexander Lura, Antonio Damasio, Brenda Milner. All these are prominent researchers in this area. Okay, next question. Which of the following statement or ments are true of biofeedback? We know what is biofeedback. So which are the following are true? The question is about It's a positive affirmative statement, not a negation. It's not not. It's are. It is accurate. Behavior can be modified through biofeedback. It helps in bringing involuntary actions to voluntary actions. It is one of the components of polygraphy. So biofeedback we actually know where we have studied that. So there are four options and you can choose from the codes. Those who have got the answer, please put in the chat. It's a statement question regarding biofeedback. We know that biofeedback is based on, it's a therapeutic technique based on which theory? Based on operant conditioning and self-regulation. Do you know about that? Biofeedback is a therapeutic technique based on operant conditioning because we are actually regulating our behavior based on the feedback we are getting. That's what biofeedback is. So it is basically designed to provide accurate and reliable information about physiological processes, allowing to monitor and learn from body's response. So what will be the answer? Which of the following is true? Yeah, let's look. Let's look. I want your responses. I want everyone's responses. Okay. Yeah. Which of the following are true? First one, it is accurate. Is biofeedback accurate? Of course it is. It's a technique which is widely used in therapeutic conditions in order to give real-time information about the physiological processes such as heart rate, BP, skin temperature, muscle tension. And this awareness will give them voluntary control over this bodily function. That's a basic thing about biofeedback. So it is accurate actually. And behavior can be modified through biofeedback. Of course, it's a behavior modification technique. Biofeedback is a behavior modification technique. So by receiving feedback on the physiological responses, individual can actually control and modify these responses. For example, they can learn to reduce muscle tension by regulating their breathing or by improving physical and mental well-being, leading to improved physical and mental well-being. So, and it helps in bringing involuntary actions. Yeah, earlier it was involuntary. Right now, we can voluntary control. That means it helps in bringing into voluntary actions. And the last one, it is one of the components of polygraphy. Polygraph is entirely a different thing. It's coming under like detecting deception. Biofeedback is a what? It's a therapeutic technique. Polygraphy is a lie detection, and it's nothing related to polygraphy. So options A, B, C are right. That means option 1 is right. So it helps in bringing involuntary actions to voluntary action. You might feel why that comes. Yeah, because biofeedback is actually helping people to gain control over physiological processes that are typically involuntary. For example, we don't have any control over BP or muscle tension and all, but by seeing in the screen that my BP is increasing or my muscle tension is increasing, these things were involuntary for me in the past. But right now I have the control to regulate that. Then that will become a conscious regulatory process. So we know these things were majorly used. The theory behind this is biofeedback techniques are operant conditioning and self-regulation. Major researchers are Neil E. Miller, Edmund Jacobson. Jacobson we know. Jacobson came up with his muscular relaxation technique. He also made use of this biofeedback a lot in the mid 20th century. Okay, let me go to the next question. Which of the following are the motivating factors in learning? Which of the following are the motivating factors in learning? Intelligence, nature of task, knowledge of result, reinforcement. Choose the appropriate answer from the options given below. For example, you need to learn and you always look for motivating factors. What it will be? It's a very simple layman question, I would say. Very simple layman question. What actually motivate you to learn? Yeah, exactly. Intelligence will not motivate us anyway because this is something that we don't know about ourselves. We don't know about it. But the nature of task, that will of course motivate us. Knowledge of result is a great motivating factor. If you are, that's why this doing quizzes and all is very important, because we are getting the knowledge of result that time itself. And reinforcement, if you are getting some reinforcement also, we will it's a motivating factor. So these three terms, nature of task, knowledge of result, and reinforcement, that means B, C, D, that means option 2 is the right answer. So while intelligence can influence learning ability, intelligence is not a direct motivating factor. But nature of task may be, the type of task engaged in, the type of knowledge of result, reinforcement, everything will be. So these things are majorly studied by many people, including Skinner, Bandura, Deci, and all. Okay. Next question, a direct question from the area of classical conditioning. Which one is not correct about classical conditioning? See, it is not. Classical conditioning is also known as respondent conditioning. A previously natural stimulus comes to elicit a response after it is paired with a stimulus that is automatically elicit that response. It is based on the fact that certain stimuli will automatically elicit certain responses without learning. Classical conditioning is also known as instrumental conditioning. In classical conditioning, there is no association between stimulus and response. The question is, which one is not correct? Which one is not correct? It's a very easy question, but it's asked in a very complex manner, and it's not that easy, but it is something that is we are very familiar with. I would recommend you think carefully and answer. Let me see how many of you are making it right. See, the question is about incorrect options of classical conditioning. I have discussed about this in the class also. So it requires a very careful understanding of classical conditioning. Can you put your options in the chat? See, the question is not correct about classical conditioning. Incorrect, and incorrect is the correct here. So you have to actually find out which all are the incorrect one. So when questions like this comes, you can either use two techniques. I would always, first I would like look for whether things are correct. I will note which are the correct options, and whichever is the omitted thing, that will be the answer. Because our brain need to process, it's very hard for our brain to reverse in automatically. That's the difficult with this anti questions, this not questions, because we have to think in the opposite direction. Even I remember when I was preparing this also, like I even made it wrong, because I like, in fact, I just kept that not from my mind, so I was looking forward the correct options, and which there is an excellent option also, right, is there actually. But the question is about not correct. You can put your options in the chat. Yeah. uh, okay, to the time constraint, I will itself answer it. I think no one have actually put here the right option. Actually, the answer is C and D. It's option 4. How will? Let's see. Classical conditioning, the first statement. Classical conditioning is also known as respondent conditioning. Is it true? Yes, it is true. Classical conditioning is commonly referred as respondent conditioning because it involves eliciting a response from the neutral stimulus through association. It's actually, it's another term for classical conditioning is actually respondent conditioning, because we are responding to a already there is a stimulus happening. Already there is a stimulus, certain so it's based on our response. So it is actually respondent conditioning is actually right. And the next option, a previously natural stimulus comes to elicit a response after it is paired with a stimulus that is automatically elicit that response. It's actually the definition itself. So B is also right. The statement about classical conditioning, the first A is right. We are right now looking about which all statements are actually right. Classical conditioning is also known as response. That's right. B statement is right. Third one, it is based on the fact that certain stimuli automatically elicit certain responses without learning. Yeah, that's the basis of classical conditioning. Classical conditioning, sorry. Uh, that's actually wrong. It is based on the fact that certain stimuli automatically elicit certain. No, automatically, no, nothing is eliciting responses. Everything happens after learning. There is nothing like without any learning things will happen. No, no, no. So that is actually wrong. So the classical conditioning does not rely on automatic elicitation of responses without learning. It is based on the formation of association between stimulus and responses. Through conditioning, through repeated pairing, stimulus will get associated. So C is actually wrong. And the next one, classical conditioning is also known as instrumental conditioning. Actually, that's wrong. Which is called as instrumental conditioning. Operant conditioning is known as other name for operant conditioning is instrumental conditioning. Classical conditioning is known as respondent conditioning. Operant conditioning is known as instrumental conditioning. Here it is wrong. So C and D is actually wrong. And the last statement, in classical conditioning, there is no association between stimulus and response. Is that right? Yeah, it is right. We have studied that. I have many times I have explained in the class also. Classical conditioning is an association between two stimulus. That's why it is called an SS theory. It is not an SR theory. SR theory is operant conditioning. SS theory is classical conditioning. So don't forget that. In classical conditioning, we know that the association is happening between a conditioned stimulus and an unconditional stimulus. It is nothing related with the response or the consequence. If response and consequence are coming, then it is a SR theory, it is an OC, it's a operant conditioning. So it really questions our understanding of operant and classical conditioning. So the answer is actually, I have given the explanation here. Those who need a bit more explanation can refer to this. So here, C and D are the incorrect statements. So the option is option 4, C and D. I know there are many confusing elements also. That's why they are trying to. I know I have seen like many. I was covering the whole question paper, and I could see many unwanted or very like we feel like questions intentionally put to confuse us. Some options are not that satisfactory. There are things, realities like that, and I always used to tell my students. For example, this question is if you can answer this. This is something I was not that because in different areas if you refer we can see different answers or which of the following are true of perceptual constancy. We know there is shape constancy. I do tell like there is light or illumination constancy. First of all, like I went for illumination and I was like thinking about ABC because color constancy is also there. Distance of course there is not. Even there are some textbook which tells about distance constancy. Even there is a term like that. But okay, we have learned that distance is something that is related to depth perception. Here what I was thinking about was ABC is right. But looking at the option, there is no option like ABC. I can only stick to two. So which of the two I will stick to? So shape and color is the most best answer that I can put forward. So the answer will be option A and C only. See, there are some questions. This is my uh, a warning and something that you have to. There are 100 questions from psychology in every net exam. Even in CUET PG and all, there will be few questions which will be challenged later in one side. There will be some question which we are not sure of. Even when the NTA comes with the right answers, we will be not convinced fully of why that only become the right answer. I used to tell some many a times because we know this is a though they claim that it's objective exam, many a times it's a subjectivity is there. So we need to think that there are some question, I would say 3 to 4 or almost a 5 questions will be there, which will be very problematic for us. The answers will not be convincing for us. There will be issues with the options. It will be not 100% that convincing. it has the potential to cause these confusions, and it is like we feel like it is intentionally made to make our answers wrong. So accept the fact that there are some questions in every exams like that. So what we can do, as I always, as we tell, we can have the optimistic explanatory style of Martin Seligman. Let's look on what we can control. I could see in many, this issue mainly happens in this chord related questions, because there are multiple. It's like it's not a purely objective. Multiple options are becoming the answer. There is the problem arising. I know in in the previous year question paper, the first major session was fully what, purely objective. Then come the multiple, the what, MSQ type questions, multiple select questions. Towards end, we know there is coming this match the following and all. So there are different patterns of questions coming in the February psychology exam. So what we can do from our end, try to be well versed with all the direct questions. You should not make wrong any direct or application based question. Direct question, application based question, or even a, like what, a tricky we should answer that. But there will be some question which will be beyond our reach. Some question which we will not have even read or hear about those people or those theory. So we have to actually think in that terms. Out of 100 questions, I would say almost 60 questions, if you have learned well, you will be able to answer it very properly. The rest 40, there will be like a few problematic, few confusing, few like out of your reach. So your actual result will depend upon that remaining 40, because everyone will struggle in that 40. So there comes the importance of reading wide, answering different types of questions, and also the ability to make educated guesses. How can you prepare yourself for making educated guesses? Practice, 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 and you itself will develop an skill to actually find out the odd one among the options, or trying to get into the right answers. Okay, that may take time, it's okay. But meanwhile, it's 8 p.m. I'm stopping here. Right now we almost, it's 116 slide. uh, there are almost 150 slides I have prepared for, but yeah, the time is limiting us. Yeah, many questions are there. So tomorrow also we will sit for again another uh, a 2 hour or a 1.5 hour session. I will uh, update among about that. Okay, so yeah, so I hope that this session was useful for you. We covered from different areas, starting from social psychology, research, and biological base of behavior, and cognitive, and yeah, social psychology. So due to within this short span of time, we were able to cover all these. So again, encouraging you to maximize your learning. Mm, okay, so that's for now. Happy learning. Thank you all for joining. Thank you.